Today on Time About the Movies, we have probably the most intriguing weekend for new releases possible. We've got two big blockbusters. We have the third installment on the Madagascar series. We have Ridley Scott returning to the Alien franchise with Prometheus. And we have a couple of quirky little indie comedies, one starring Mark Duplass. I lost his name for a second. I'm going to remember it. It's got Aubrey Plaza in it. Jake Johnson. I was thinking which guy from New Girl was that? But no, Jake Johnson, Aubrey Plaza, and Safety Not Guaranteed. And Greta Gerwig has a new movie, Lola Versus, June 8th, 2012. This is Time About the Movies.
Most wanted in theaters June 8th.
And welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we are taking a look at the four films that make up June 8th, 2012, and we're starting off with what many considered to be back then, surprisingly, the biggest new release of the weekend. And I'll talk more about that when we get to Prometheus in a little bit here, but Madagascar 3, Europe's Most Wanted. This is, of course, the third installment of the Madagascar series and the last one of the original Madagascar trilogy. Of course, we have a spin-off movie that's coming out in 2014 that we'll get to later on, but in this movie, you have the return of Ben Stiller, Chris Rock, David Schwimmer, and Jada Pinkett Smith as the four main heroes, deciding to head to Monte Carlo to find the penguins and force them to take them back home to New York City. After stumbling in the casino, the animals become criminals and on the run from a diabolical animal hunter played by Frances McDormand. The animals make their escape by claiming to be circus animals and join a failing circus and eventually buying the deed to the circus themselves. And I gotta be honest with you, this one in particular really is the best of the Madagascar movies. Like I said before, these films do get better as they go along. The animation gets better, the storytelling gets better, the comedy gets better, and there's no exception that this is indeed the best. There's no doubt about it that this is indeed the best of the series. This is the one where the animation looks the most clearest of them all. The 3D overall is really good. The comedy bits are very well done. You know, the trailers for this had the big scene where, Chris Rock's doing the whole polka dot circus thing, and it's just like, that's in there, and it's not as bad as you would think it would be. Because, I remember when this was coming out, and everyone thought the trailer for it was pretty good, and then Chris Rock shows up doing the da-da-da-da-da-da-da polka dot afro, thing. It's just like, and everyone was just kind of like, they were like Ben Stiller in the trailer. It's like, really? Like, they thought that was going to be the thing that was going to really kill this movie. And it's one scene out of a lot of really other good scenes in this movie. And there are a lot of really good scenes in this. A lot of great voice work all throughout this. Frances McDormand's very good, funny as the villain of the movie. Bryan Cranston is a Russian tiger that's actually very well done. Jessica Chastain, she's really good in here playing this jaguar, who's also a love interest for Alex. Martin Short's a scene lion in here. And the great thing about the movie is that it's a relatively short film. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's 85 minutes long. It's not even an hour and a half, but it knows when to call it quits, and it does a very good job of wrapping the story up from the beginning of the Madagascar series. There are some flaws to it. I didn't like the first 3 minutes because it's one of my least favorite cliches in movies, and that is the dream sequence. There's no reason to bring it up here, and it's never brought up in the film again. So what's the point of doing it? Just to kill time. And like I said, it's a short movie at 85 minutes, so you cut that 3 minutes out, and it's an 82-minute movie. So I guess they need to fill time up here. But there's no reason for that to be in there whatsoever. I also don't like the story overall is not the best in this. That's the one thing I'll give this movie its negative points to. It's the fact that there are cliches in here I don't like. The dream sequence is one. The other is the whole thing, the wire to be revealed. I mean, they already did this in the last movie, so why are we doing this again? They were getting ready to expose the truth anyway, and I got to leave the theater for just a little bit. And by the time I got back, they were already done with it. It's just like, we were already on the, we have to go our separate ways thing. It's just like, I hate that. I hate that so much in these movies. I wish that would stop. But sadly, it's not going away anytime soon. There are some bits that I didn't think was really that great at the time, but knowing the comedy and what they were going for with this, the whole thing where, there's a bit where Frances McDormand is singing, the song, Non je ne regarde rien from, you may have heard it in Bay Pig in the City. And when I saw it back then, it made no sense to me, but considering the style of comedy that these movies had, she sings this song, and it's enough to heal these animal control guards who are, covered in bandages in a span of, 2 minutes. I didn't get it back then, but time has gone by when I've gone to look at this and say, you know what? I get it now. I get what you were trying to do here. There's a lot of stupid comedy in this. Julian's attracted to a bear on a unicycle. Why? because it's the type of humor you expect in a movie like this. And it does have a really engaging climax at the end that takes place in the zoo. Like, I love the way they wrap it up there, and they put a, like I said, put a good closure together to the storyline of Madagascar. Like, this really is the best of the three films, even with its flaws. This is still a really good movie overall. They were talking about doing another one for years now. I'm glad they didn't do that. I'm glad they kind of wrapped the story up with them and just continued it on with the Penguins of Madagascar, which I thought made for a pretty good movie that came out the following year, which again we'll get to. But this is still a really good movie. It's still my favorite of the series. It's a really fun series overall. I really enjoy the hell out of it. Madagascar 3, Europe's Most Wanted. Can't recommend it enough. I keep saying it comes out the next year, but no, Penguins of Madagascar came out in 2014, and we're still in 2012. So, when I said the next year for those times, just replace it with the next 2 years. How about that? So let's go ahead and move on to the movie that everyone was really expecting to be the movie that was going to dominate the box office because the hype behind it was so big. But then you had to see the movie, and then you realize, Prometheus, it's complicated. We'll talk about it in just a second.
Big things have small beginnings. Prometheus. Rated R.
That's deep, bro. And you can kind of see... Actually, you kind of can't see the problems with the movie right away because trailers did a very good job of selling this movie. I mean, they made such a big deal out of it when that first trailer dropped the previous December, and the big thing was that Ridley Scott was coming back to do this. And, this was the big movie where Ridley Scott's returning to the franchise he built. I mean, this is supposed to be a huge cinematic moment, and the end result was rather disappointing. I'll say that. I'll touch on that in just a second, but set in the late 21st century and in the same universe as Alien, the story centers around the crew of the spaceship Prometheus as they follow a star map discovered among the remnants of several ancient Earth cultures. Leading to a distant world and advanced civilization, the crew seeks the origins of humanity, but instead discovers a threat that could cause the extinction of the human race. You have characters played by Nubia Rapaz and Charlize Theron and Idris Elba among the cast in this. And like I said, they were building this up to be like the next big movie event. Like, this is something that everyone's got to be there for. This is like Phantom Menace for Alien fans, kind of. And we all saw how how Phantom Menace turned out back then. But yeah, I definitely would say that the similar effects of the Phantom Menace after the movie came out could be pretty much summed up with this movie here. Because yeah, this is not a very good movie. In fact, this one actually was really, really dull. I didn't like it back then. I've tried going back and trying to give it another opportunity, and I just never really got into it. With a couple of scenes I'll touch on here, but yeah, this isn't the cinematic epic film that I think a lot of people were hoping for from the beginning. For one thing, the pacing is way too slow. The real action and the conflict of the movie doesn't get started until about 40 minutes in, and before then, it's moving way too slow to get going. Like Alien, the original, was so perfect at how it handled the slow pacing because you got attached to the characters. You wanted to see the characters going on this adventure and finding this area where they come across this alien in the original film. Even in Aliens, it starts off slow. Like, after 40 minutes, 40 minutes is a long time to get going here. You got to have something building up to that point. And once it does get to that 40-minute mark, the film does start to pick up pretty fast. But another thing that really kind of bothered me about this movie is that for a movie that's supposed to be from the master of the Alien franchise, the man who put it together in the long run, this really does feel like an Alien clone, man. Like, the characters in this movie were just so poorly written stereotypes of people we've seen done in movies before. You can easily pick out which ones are going to die and when it's going to happen, and then you get some good characters in here that we'll touch on in a little bit as well. And I hate it how they desperately sequel baited the movie towards the end. Like, a good film like this should not be forcing a tease for the sequel in the last 5 minutes of the movie. If you're going to do it, be clever about it and not do the same cliche scenario that we've seen done in other versions before. And another thing that really bugged me about the movie is that it's so predictable, man. Like I said before, kind of like what I said about the characters. You can predict who's going to get into axed off. You can predict every single thing that's going to happen in this movie. I could easily tell what was going to happen. We've had other movies this year, like The Hunger Games and The Avengers, that didn't do that. They were clever enough to let the film go on and not give you an indication of what's going to happen. And those movies worked. This one did not. The biggest flaw of this film overall, and something that's been bugging me ever since I saw it and made me realize maybe Ridley Scott isn't the same director that most people make him out to be, because This film felt way too self-congratulatory about itself. Like it was already giving itself a round of applause or already talking about how it's the greatest movie ever before we even got to see it. I mean, like the people behind the scenes were giving themselves this praise for what they had done before they went to work. And it's like they were going to be praised because, oh, Ridley Scott's back in here. We got Damon Lindelof, the writer of Lost, penning the script. You know, we had a hit on our hands before we even did anything. And that really bugs me with a movie like this. With a film like this, a Prometheus, an Aliens prequel with Ridley Scott coming back on board. It should not be so far up its own ass and pretentious about what it's doing before the film even starts. Like, that thing really kind of bugged me throughout watching this movie, and it's been bugging me ever since I saw the film. Now, does that make the movie bad? Not really. There are a few good things I like about it. I do like the visual style of it. I think the visuals are very gorgeous to look at, and seeing it on a big screen, you see where that money is put into. You know, 40 minutes in, the pacing does go from very slow to sloppy and fast to great after that. I mean, the film starts to get good pretty quickly. I mean, the two best characters in the movie are Noomi Rapace, who is really good in this, and definitely in a much better American film role than the girl with the dragon, than Sherlock Holmes Again for Shadows. Not the girl with the dragon too, but Michael Fassbender, who I thought was really, really good in this movie. He gave a performance that was so good on the same level of Andy Serkis in Rise of the Planet of the Apes good. I mean, that was how good he was back when this movie came out. My favorite scene in the entire movie, and I think it's everyone's favorite scene in the movie, is where, you know, Noomi Rapace has this alien inside of her stomach, and she's trying to do everything she can to get it out of her stomach. So she's got to, like, rip it out herself and then staple her stomach back together. That was the one moment in the movie where I was just like, the tension here is really good. You feel the effects of what this woman is going through, and you're just along for the ride with it, man. That was my favorite scene in the entire movie, before the film eventually falls off a cliff when they reveal a big twist. It's just kind of like, you got to be kidding me. Why are we even doing this? Like, what was the whole point of this whole thing if the main element of it is not dead, but is still very much alive and has been lying on the ship? Like, how do you even know? Like, how do you even figure it out that how do you even, what am I trying to say here? How do you even, give me 1 second. How's this guy that's supposed to be dead somehow on the ship and magically able to stay on there without making any kind of noise that would have tipped off the other people on the ship? Like, it made no sense whatsoever, and it kind of ruins the ebb and flow of the movie going forward. And it's just like, at that point, the movie had no way of coming back from it at that point. I mean, it's a disappointing film, to say the least. This is a movie that really was one of the things that made me push back on Aliens for the longest time, because, you know, for the longest time, you know, there was these Alien and Aliens were the standards, and then you had Alien 3, which was a disappointment, and Alien Resurrection, which was even bigger disappointment, and the Alien vs. Predator movies, which back in the day, the first one was a disappointment, but as time has gone on, we've kind of realized that the first Alien vs. Predator movie was actually a lot better than we let on. Requiem, not so much. Prometheus was one of the biggest disappointments in the series, and Alien Isolation, the next film in the series, was even worse than this. I mean, this movie was at least trying. Alien Isolation just really... Alien Covenant, I keep saying Alien Isolation, good lord. Alien Covenant was much worse than this movie. And we'll touch on that in 2017, but I'll tell you this much. The series has gotten back on track in the last couple of years thanks to Alien Romulus, and also with Alien Earth that was just on FX as of late. And both of those were great things overall. So Prometheus was the thing that was supposed to jumpstart the Alien series back again, but unfortunately disappointed in a number of different ways. It only took us 12 years later to finally get the Alien reboot that we've been waiting for, and it works to a T. I really enjoyed that Alien Romulus, but I did not enjoy Prometheus. I thought it was a big disappointment back then, and in the time since then, it has not gotten better for me, so take that for what you will. So that's my thoughts on Prometheus, and I know this is one of those reviews where I might be the only one saying this, but I felt it was a major disappointment. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie. We got the two big blockbusters out of the way, so now we have the indie pictures out here. Let's start off with the big one, Safety Not Guaranteed.
Someone to go back in time with me. This is not a joke. Safety not guaranteed.
I mean, who wouldn't go on an adventure like that when they see a thing that literally says, someone to go back in time with, this is not a joke, you'll get paid when we get back, must bring your own weapons, safety not guaranteed. I have only done this once before. And it's just kind of like, that's enough for me, let me go get my keys and get the hell on out of here. But no, safety not guaranteed. This is notable because this is actually the directorial debut of one Colin Trevorrow, who of course would later follow this up with his biggest success to date, and that is Jurassic World, which I think is a good movie. The next movie he did, The Book of Henry, not so much, but Jurassic World Dominion I didn't think was as bad as people made it out to be. But in this movie, you have Darius, who's a young intern at a Seattle-based magazine who jumps at the chance to investigate the author of a classified ad seeking someone to travel back in time with. Along with Jeff, the staff writer, and Arnu, a fellow intern, the three go on a road trip to a coastal town. While Jeff just wants to chase after his high school crush, and Nell wants some kind of life experience, Darius spends her time with Kenneth, a man who believes that he's built a time machine. Kenneth being played by Mark Duplass, and Darius is played by Aubrey Plaza. The closer they become and the more they understand each other, the less clear it becomes if Kenneth is just crazy, or if he's actually going to succeed traveling back in time. And yeah, it's a very kooky film, and it's a film that works to Colin Trevorrow's advantages. It's a movie where it is a very well-done film. It's a film that is very surprisingly effective. You know, this is written by Derek Connolly, who of course went on to write the Jurassic World movies with Trevorrow. And you got a great cast. It also includes Karen Sadi, one of his roles that he did before Deadpool. Marilyn Ryska from 24, Kristen Bell, Jeff Garlin. A good cast overall in here. A really good concept overall. And a great chance to see a lot of people that you really liked on TV showing what they can do as actors. Like I said, Jake Johnson, Mark Duplass, Aubrey Plaza, a lot of really good people in here. And it's a film that is the very definition of an independent, short-budget, low-budgeted movie that actually has a lot of heart and charm to it. It's not about it's not about actually going on this journey to find out if this guy is serious about this ad. It's about the journey you're taking to get to that point, and I think it works very well. It's a great character study, it's a great comedy, it's a great drama. It's a well-put-together movie. It's a film that is very good on all levels. I really enjoyed the hell out of it. Safety not guaranteed. You're guaranteed to like this movie, though. I do recommend it indeed. So, let's go ahead and take a look at our last movie that we have here this week, and that is Greta Gerwig in Lola Versus.
Remember how much I loved Cinderella? It's a classic. It's what messes little girls up. We all get obsessed with shoes.
I mean, that's one way you could probably take Cinderella, but Lola Versus. This is Greta Gerwig in one of her first big movies following her success with Frances Ha. And I'm trying to get a plot synopsis here so I can read it off to you, but here it is. Dumped by her boyfriend just 3 weeks before their wedding, Lola, played by Gerwig, enlists her close friend, played by Zoe Lister-Jones, who actually co-wrote the script for this, on a series of adventures she hopes will help her come to terms with approaching 30 as a single woman. And needless to say, as great as it is to see these actors in here, Greta Gerwig and Joel Kinnaman, Zoe Lister-Jones, and Bill Pullman and Deborah Winger, the movie itself isn't that great overall. This is a movie that feels like it's trying way too hard to be like Gerwig's other movie that she did, Frances Ha, which is a much better movie. It's a much better movie because there's a much better writer attached to it. It's not that this movie isn't trying. There's definitely elements where they are trying to do something that makes that's on the same level as something like a Frances Ha, but it's just not there with this movie. And as much as the actors overall are really doing their best to put it together in the end, it isn't worth it in the long run to say it's a movie you should definitely check out. And it's a bummer because, like I said, it's got a great cast to it. Greta Gerwig can usually be very entertaining regardless of whatever movie she's in. And I like Zoe Lister-Jones. She's somebody that I don't think gets as much attention as she deserves because she's been in a lot of really good stuff I've liked. But this one just didn't work overall. It's a major letdown overall. I was really kind of bummed that this one didn't work out so well, unfortunately. So that's all I got to say about that one. That's Lola Versus for you. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. And the next time we meet, we head into the middle of June with, kind of like this weekend, a couple of blockbusters that should have been good. But unfortunately, unlike one of them, both of them ended up kind of disappointing. We'll take a look at Adam Shankman's musical follow-up to Hairspray, which is Rock of Ages, which has a great soundtrack, but the movie, not so much. What am I doing with my hand there? Unlike you ever play on Super Mario Party and you're playing as Donkey Kong and you go down, and when you hit a Bowser space and like Bowser's doing his thing where it's just like whoa, and then Donkey Kong is like trembling, but it looks like he has Parkinson's disease, just like like. I don't know, blatant, I don't know. I've been watching Smitty Mario Party videos today, so getting ready for this. But bottom line, what I'm trying to tell you is that Rock of Ages, the soundtrack is great, the movie, not so much. There we go. How about that? But then we have Adam Sandler starring in his first comedy after the infamously bad Jack and Jill, which was a PG-rated movie. Now he's doing an R-rated movie with the help of Andy Samberg with That's My Boy. An idea that should work, but nope. Let's put it this way. Adam Sandler and Andy Samberg do make a good movie in 2012. But we still got a couple months before that, so take that for what you will. But we'll take a look at both Rock of Ages and That's My Boy tomorrow on the show, so stay tuned for that next time around. But with all of that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, if you somehow enjoyed this, I greatly appreciate it. If you want to see more power to you. Please go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the last episode we did. So with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.